Hey everyone, welcome back. So today is Tuesday, and we got a couple companies providing their production updates for March. So we have, of course, Scientific, Cleanspark, and Riot. We'll get into those. There's not much else going on with Bitcoin news, so we won't really get into it. We'll take a look at the miners. We'll take a look at how they did today in the stock market, and we'll look at Bitcoin, see what it's doing right now. And we'll get into the production updates. All right. So as always, not financial advice. You know the drill. I'm investing in the following companies and coins for full disclosure. And let's get into the miners here. So Annie was up today 16.59% to $2.53. It's down a little bit in the after hours right now. It did have a huge spike, obviously, in the after hours after the news came out yesterday, which I covered here in the previous video, yesterday's video, about them obviously going their own separate direction from Griffin mining. And that has obviously caused the stock to surge a little bit. We'll see how this continues going forward. Obviously, investors saw this as a good sign and not something that they wanted to see happen possibly. So we know that now. We'll have to obviously update the spreadsheet for Sphere, see how that's going to obviously affect it from getting away from Griffin mining, and we'll go from there. So they were up today, obviously, a little bit, and down a little bit in the after hours. Argo was down 3.75% to 93 cents. Most of the miners were down today, which was surprising. Bitcoin has been trading kind of flat a little bit, but we'll take a look at Bitcoin here shortly. But right now, Argo is between the 100-day moving average and the 50 and the 20-day moving averages. And it is kind of acting as support right now a little bit on the 100-day moving average. It's acting as a support. We saw it bounce off of it here, and we saw it kind of stop here. So we'll see if this continues on or not going forward. Bitfarms was down also 6.65% to $3.51. It has fallen below the 20-day moving average, and we can see for some reason it just fell pretty hard today, right off the bat in the morning, and then traded kind of sideways throughout the rest of the day. Cleanspark was down 9.22% to $12.01. It's up a little bit in the after hours now to $12.16. It has fallen also pretty dramatically here in the morning hours, and then continued to sell off a little bit towards the end as well. It is below, obviously, all the averages here, the 50, the 20, all those, it has fallen below it. The 200-day moving average kind of acted as support here, but obviously fell below it, so we'll see how this plays forward. Core Scientific was down 0.46% today to $8.73. It is now above the 20-day moving average, is that right? Yep, the red line is the 20-day moving average, which has continued to go up, and we'll see how this one plays out. We'll take a look at the numbers from Core. Their numbers are outstanding. Then we got Digihost. Digihost was up another 5.71% today to $3.89. It was up nicely yesterday as well, and it is doing the same thing today. It was up higher in the pre-market hours, came back down, and then obviously went back up. It looks like at least on the daily chart and the 1 hour chart, the 20-day moving average is acting as support. It looks like it's been bouncing off of it, which is kind of interesting. We'll see how that goes forward as well. DMG was down 7.37% to 52 cents. It has obviously fallen below the 20 and the 50-day moving average. It is now going to be battling with the 100-day moving average, and we'll see how this goes forward. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of these miners are going to follow the trend of Bitcoin, so we'll see where Bitcoin goes forward. Hive has also fallen 5.16% today. It is down to $2.02. It is below all the moving averages here on the chart. Obviously, came really strongly down in the morning and then just traded sideways here throughout the rest of the day. Hut 8 was down 5.77% to $5.23, and it did the same thing. It just pretty much had a sell-off, continued to go down, and then kind of went up a little bit here towards the close of the day. Iris Energy was down 3% to $15.19. It's down another 4.54% in the after hours, down to $14.50. We saw a little bit of a, on the pre-hours, it was up, and then it opened up and went down, and then in the after hours, it's, going down some more. So it's obviously past all of these moving averages, the 20, the 50, and the 100-day moving averages. It's down below them. So I'm not sure what's causing the market. Obviously, Bitcoin isn't doing anything. It's just trading sideways, but I'm surprised that these guys are dropping so fast. Luxxfolio was down 1.78% to 29 cents. On the day, Marathon was down 9.2% to $26.26. See the same pattern here, sharp decline in the morning and then continuing sloping down, and a little bit of a raise here in towards the closing. So we'll see how this works. Obviously, it's below all the trading averages here on the price. And then Mawson was down 7.82% to $5.19. it has done pretty much the same thing as the other miners, opening up lower in the morning and then continuing to trade down throughout the day. Riot was down 7.06%, same thing, to $19.23. The same thing, opened up in the morning and went straight down. So a lot of people were selling, which is surprising. All right, so that's all the miners. Let's take a look at Bitcoin really quick, and then we'll get into the miners. So Bitcoin right now is trading at 45,824. It is, the interesting part here is I'm looking at the little peaks here on the 1 hour chart. We're battling with that 47,000 as the resistance on it. However, each time that we get to that 47,000 and looking at the RSI has been kind of going down a little bit, at least in the last couple two. So we got one peak here where we tried to go above 47,000 and failed. Another attempt here at 47,000, but when we look at the RSI, we can see the RSI was higher back on April 3rd, and we are lower here today on April 5th. My thinking on this is we also have the 20-day and the 50-day moving averages where those might cross. I think that might also give it a little bit more of a leg up, or it's actually the 20-day and the 100-day moving averages are about to cross. That I think is going to be a catalyst for it to go up higher. As I've said this before, the more times we knock on something, the more likely we are to break through it. So we've knocked on it about 3 times here in the last couple of days. I wouldn't be surprised if we knock on it a couple more times and then break above it. So we'll see how this all plays out. But right now, that's the 1 hour chart. Let's take a look at the daily chart here. We can see this, obviously, red line here is the 20-day moving average. That is really close right now to the 200-day moving average, if I believe that's correct. Let me make sure if that is correct. And for some reason, it's not working for me. Okay, but I believe that's the 200-day moving average. And we are really close to that. Right now, we are just bouncing between our resistance of 47,000 and roughly our support is at around 44,700 or so, right around there. RSI has continued to come down on the daily chart, which is good, giving us potential to move up higher as well. Ethereum, let me turn this off because that little thing is driving me nuts. It's doing the same thing as Bitcoin. We've obviously, the only opposite thing here is it's been trending up higher while the RSI has been going down. So you can see this continued trend up here on the daily chart. If we look at Bitcoin, you can see Bitcoin kind of peaked here and then has come down. Ethereum has not. Ethereum has continued to go up higher. So Ethereum is a better play right now. It is looking like we can still go up higher because we've hit the RSI, come back down, and then we've went up again and RSI has come back down. So we could do this for a little while the price of Ethereum goes up. But right now it's at $3,440 roughly. And our potential looks like I have this red line here as a resistance of 4,000, that we might catch here. So we'll see how it goes. Right now, we're kind of trading sideways. Also, we do have the news of the Bitcoin conference happening in Miami this week. That might be a catalyst as well to pump the Bitcoin up. We'll see if that does or not. We'll cover some of the stories that that happened over there during that time period. All right, so let's take a look at Cleanspark here first. So Cleanspark announces March 2022 Bitcoin production. March monthly production was 318 BTC. Calendar year to date production ending March 31st was 898. Total BTC holdings as of March 31 was 420. Total BTC converted for operations and growth in March was 391. So they sold some, it looks like. And they've continued to do this almost monthly, I think, to sell some of their coins to fund operations. Currently deployed fleet of over 23,000 latest generation Bitcoin miners with a total hash rate of 2.3 exahash, which is great. And then we got some details here. So the company fully funded growth and operations through the sale of 420 Bitcoins in March 2022 at an average of approximately 42,294. Sale of BTC equated to proceeds of approximately 17.6 million, most of which was used for growth capital expenditures at the company's Norcross facility. March daily BTC production reached a high of 10.57 BTC. And a little updates here. So location-specific operational updates. Cleanspark's Norcross campus saw significant progress during March with about 600 immersion-cooled S19j Pros hashing as of March 31st. The company has experienced delays with its utility partner related to weather and construction. All machines needed to fill the facility to capacity have been received and are being prepared for immersion cooling and deployment. The company expects the number of machines hashing to rapidly increase over the coming quarter. They obviously did not provide how much they're going to be putting in there, but obviously they got 600 in there. So when they say that they are getting prepared for immersion cooling, that's most likely meaning that the fans are being taken off. You're putting on these little chips to make the computer think that the fans are in place, which they're not. And then obviously you have to get the tanks filled, get things prepared. So that's what's causing that. And going down here, Lancium, I think we covered this a couple weeks back when they provided this. But I thought it would be interesting to point it out here again. So Cleanspark's newly executed contract with Lancium for 200 megawatts is expected to increase the company's total hash rate to over 10 exahash by spring of 2023. The contract also includes the option of an additional 300 megawatts for Cleanspark. With the 300 megawatts option fully deployed, Cleanspark expects to have a total of about 600 megawatts in its portfolio, which would power about 200,000 latest generation miners and contribute approximately 20 exahash to the network. That's obviously at the current miner speeds that we have on the market. Things may obviously change as we get better miners in later on this year, towards the end of the year. So we'll see that could obviously increase as well. And that is it for Cleanspark. So let's take a look at the numbers I have for them, and then we'll get into Core Scientific and Riot. So Cleanspark, let's take a look at it. Cleanspark provided 318 BTC mined here in March, which is a value of about 14.4 million, almost 14.5 million. I added also miners here to coincide with their numbers of about 23,000 miners and 2.3 exahash. And I do have them possibly making about 14.48. They have 14.47, which we're really close to that number as well. So these are the miners that were installed here this month or in March. So basically about 1,000 miners were installed. I have it at 1,007. So that gives them an extra 100 exahash, not 100 exahash, 100 petahash to their mining here for March, which brings them obviously up to 1448. They did 11.3 in February and 11.9, almost 12 million in January. What else can I show you? Oh, I also did an institutions update for them. So I checked this today. Institutions had increased to 144, and ownership also went down a little bit to 31.35%, but the shares have increased to 12.9. Basically, this is possibly with share dilution as you get more shares out in there, right? Even if you have more share owners, that could come down. So, ratings on them are still one strong, one buy, and then we have a price target of the same 30, 23, and 60 for the low, average, and high. So that all stayed the same. And let's take a look at it here. So for the past quarter, which was January, February, and March, we're looking at approximately 37 million, almost 38 million in revenue for them. And with the prior 3 quarters, which was about 69.6 million, total combined would be 107 million. Price to earnings multiple of 75% net income of gross revenue would be about 80 million. And then price to earnings multiple of 10 that I'm using here would give them a price of 1947. Their current stock price is at 1201. They do have pretty good growth, not as good growth as Marathon or some of the other guys, which are getting a higher premium on the multiple. We'll take a look at it here. But I think they should get at least, maybe even, a 15 multiple or something like that, which would get them up to about $30 or $12. But even using the 10 multiple, they're still way undervalued, in my opinion, from where they should be and how they are growing. BTC HODL is obviously 420. That represents 3.87% of the market cap, which means 46 cents of each share has, that's the Bitcoin HODL position basically on that. And they have grown for the past couple of months here. So in February, they increased by about 150 petahash in their miners. March was about 100. And that represents about 2,500 miners being installed in the last 2 months or so. Looking at the numbers here that are currently, if everything stayed the same, we're using a price to earnings multiple of 20 of 75% net income from gross revenue. That would represent a stock price of 61.28. If Bitcoin stayed the same, hash rate stayed the same, no more miners were installed. This is what they would basically be earning for the year here. Just to point that out. And I believe that is it. There's nothing else that has really changed on it. So the good news is obviously they have more miners mining in the coming months. We still have plenty of miners that need to get installed. Oh, so yeah. So they're currently at 2.3 exahash, and future hash rate I have them about 4.2. They're saying they're going to get to possibly around 10 with the announcement. but they obviously have to provide information on miners that they're repurchasing. So this leaves us at about 55% operational right now from future hash rate. So they still have about halfway to go before they're fully installed, which is good. Hash rate average on miners is about 100 terahash, which is good. Pretty good average compared to some of the other guys here. All right, so great numbers by Cleanspark. Let's get into the other ones, and then we'll call it a day. So Core Scientific, obviously, is one of the biggest ones I cover here. It is the biggest one that I cover here. They do both self-mining and hosting, and these guys are a beast. So let's look at the numbers here. So self-mining, Core Scientific self-mining operations produced 1,143 Bitcoin in March, averaging 36.9 BTC per day, an increase from February's daily average of 35. As of March 31, 2022, the company held 8,497 Bitcoins produced from operations. They are going to quickly bypass Marathon with the most coins being held. As of March month end, Core Scientific operated its own fleet of more than 80,000 Bitcoin miners producing 8.3 exahash. Core Scientific will begin posting daily Bitcoin self-mining production on its corporate website. So that's kind of interesting. They're going to actually provide daily revenues, basically how many Bitcoins they mined each day, which will make it even more better for us to track it. We can kind of see what's going on, not for only the ones that track it, but also for investors. Hosting, I covered this in their quarterly results. Hosting represents a very small amount of net income for them. They generate quite a bit of revenue, but a lot of it is being, spent on basically upkeep. So there's a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm drawing blank. But basically, I don't think I'm going to be covering their hosting too much. And I actually deleted it from my spreadsheet here a little bit, at least the numbers, because they are only making like 2% or something like that on the hosting, which is kind of very inexpensive, or not a lot of revenue, obviously. So we're representing 7.9 exahash on the hosting. We don't know how many miners they have, but they are at 7.9. So combined, they are at, what is that? Almost 16.2 exahash combined. So they are one of the biggest ones, if not the biggest. Grid support. So in the month of March, the company was not asked to power down operations to support local electrical grids, which was good. Obviously, that helped them get more Bitcoins mined. And then they are obviously going to be at the Bitcoin conference, I think, along with Riot. I'm not sure if Cleanspark's going to be in that as well or not. All right, so let's take a look at the numbers here that I have for them, for Core. So Core, I had it separated into two basically businesses, the self-mining, which is here, and then the hosting down here. I put the values in for the revenue basically at 0 because they are only making like 2% net income on it. And it's only like per quarter was coming out like 1.2 million or something like that, which is a drop in the bucket compared to what they're making here with their self-mining. So I'm not even going to bother with it. I'll just keep these updated here until we hear something that they're actually making better profit margins on it instead of the 2% or so that I calculated last time. So in March, they obviously mined 1,143 Bitcoins, which was a nice increase. And it is the highest number that I see for them right now through December. They could have possibly been mining more towards like August or so when the hash rate was really low. I'm not sure if they were at that point. This is just the latest information that I have for them. So this is a record month for them, representing about 52 million right now in revenue, which is just huge. So monthly difference was about 162 more than in February and a 16.51% increase, which is also huge. So looking at it here, I have them at March of 52 million, which is pretty much right on. I did have to ding them a little bit here on some of the miners that to get close to that number, which we have here, 52.03, and I got them at 52.036, which were right there. I had to ding them a little bit for less than basically a third of a day, possibly being shut down for one reason or another. They obviously provided that they weren't shut down for any electrical reason, but they could have been for maintenance or something like that, or just a power outage from storms or something like that. It could have triggered it. So this is where I have them at installed. Basically these miners over here. So we got 750 and 215 miners being installed to get them up to the 8.3 exahash. And those are on average running in March of 20 days. They will obviously be running a heck of a lot more in April. And we do have them at April, possibly making about 51 million. You got 30 days. You had 31 days in March, so that's the difference for that. And then May, possibly 53 million if price and everything stays the same hash rate. Obviously, it's not. So that could be obviously a lot higher. It could be a lot lower depending on where Bitcoin price goes. They are obviously still a long ways from being fully installed. So right now they are about 50% installed at 8.3 exahash to future hash rate of 16.7. I think they wanted to get to. Now they're saying they're going to get to possibly closer to 20 or something like that, even higher than that. Fully with hosting and self-mining, they said that they might get to about 40 exahash, which is huge. And then we obviously have hosting is at 7.7 roughly, and they're about 48% installed. So total about 49% installed combined on those two. Looking at the numbers that we do have for them, less 3/4, what is, wow, this is really strange here. What is that coming up to? Let me fix that really quick. I don't know why that is. Sell currency 1,000 separator. Okay. Oh, that's why, because this one's coming up that way. Currency 1,000 separator. Okay, now we can see a little bit better. So current quarter, we're looking at about 134 million based on the last 3 months, January, February, March, which is over here. And that's why I'm getting a weird number there. Currency 1,000 separator. Okay, so now we got that figured out. And combined with the last 3 quarters reported about 183 million. So we're looking at a total combined 318 million. Using 75% net income from gross revenue, looking at 238 million. Price to earnings multiple of 20, looking at 15.10. I think they should be getting 20 because if we look at Marathon is $26.26. Price to earnings multiple of 20. They're, should be around 27.83, which is pretty close to what I have them at. I would think, as big as Core Scientific is going to get, they should be closer to that 20 mark as well. So they are about half of where they should be, I think, if you're comparing it to Marathon or Riot, some of those guys for their growth. So they're way undervalued in my opinion right now. And what else can I share with you guys? BTC HODL is obviously 8,497. HODL, the market cap is about 14% of their market cap is HODL amount, which is about 389 million. That represents, each share represents $1.23 of BTC HODL in it. And there was one other thing here. Institutions, I checked into institutions. So institutions actually went down a little bit to 83 institutions. Shares went down to 17.9 million. Percent owned was at 8.74. So obviously a huge decrease there. I think that was part of the merger that they did. And I believe it was a merger. Correct me if I'm wrong there. Strong buy, we have a 2, so we have 1 increase and a buy at 2. Price is pretty much the same, 18.75 for the high. Average is 17.57 and the low of 15.51, which I believe is pretty close to what I have in a 15.10 for right now, what they're making. Obviously going forward, they're going to be making a lot more. If we look at it towards the end of the year, if everything stayed the same, like we did it with Cleanspark, we're looking at approximately 606, using 20 price to earnings multiple with 75% net income from gross revenue. We're looking at a stock price of probably $33 or so, where I think it should be if Bitcoin just stays where it's at and doesn't change much. So great numbers by Cleanspark, way undervalued in my opinion still, along with Cleanspark. Let's take a look at Riot, see what Riot has done for the month of March. We'll look at the numbers here. So Riot Blockchain announces March 2022 production and operation updates. Here's a little thing that I found was interesting. So by January 2023, Riot anticipates a total self-mining hash rate capacity of 12.8 exahash, assuming full deployment of approximately 120,150 end miners, but excluding any potential expected incremental productivity gains from the company's utilization of 200 megawatt of immersion cooling infrastructure. So Riot's immersion cooled dedicated building F. Building F and G, both employing the company's state-of-the-art immersion cooling technology, have continued progress with miners being deployed in Building F and with electrical equipment installation nearing completion. So it doesn't look like they are running yet. At least I'm not getting the sense they are from this. But they're nearing it, so they could be starting up either this month or next month sometime. When that is complete, it will be really interesting to see what their gain is on hashing rate on those miners. So production updates in March 22, Riot produced 511 BTC, an increase of approximately 176% as compared to March 2021 production of 185 BTC. Riot currently has a deployed fleet of approximately 42,919 miners with a hash rate capacity of 4.3 exahash per second, which is great. So good growth there as well. Bitcoin Treasury Management update as of March 31, 2022. Riot held approximately 6,062 BTC, all produced by the company's self-mining operations. In March 2022, Riot sold 200 Bitcoin at an average sale price of approximately 47,000. Proceeds from the sale equated to approximately 9.4 million. And infrastructure update. So throughout the month of March, Riot's digital infrastructure expansion project at the Whinstone facility has continued to make progress. Buildings D and E, both employing air-cooled technology, are nearing completion. So that's good. So more space to install miners. The electrical installation process and building has begun. The louvers have been placed in D, and the roof installment has begun in E. So good updates there. More obviously room for the miners to get installed once those are operational. Buildings F and G, both employing the company's state-of-the-art immersion cooling technology, have continued progress with miners being deployed in Building F and with electrical equipment installation nearing completion. So we're getting really close to that, which is good as well. Estimated hash rate, right, we're looking at about 12.8 without the immersion cooling being accounted for that. We'll have to see what that happens. And they are obviously going to be at the Bitcoin mining conference or Bitcoin conference in Miami this coming April 5th to the 9th. So we'll see what if anything interesting they have to say. So let's take a look at Riot really quick on my spreadsheet and we'll call it a day. All right, so Riot here mined 511 Bitcoins valued at approximately 23.2 million. Looking at my spreadsheet here, I did make some updates for it. Excuse me. So this is the month of March here. This is the hosting. So the hosting I got to look into some more to see actually what their profit margin is on hosting. If it's the same as it's for core where they're making like 2% on it, I may not even include it in here. So here's the numbers of what they are earning without hosting. This is the combined number down here, 21 million. So they mined approximately 17.6 million in January, worth 18.7, 18.8 roughly in February, and 23.7 in March. So those are the numbers I'm using for that. Combined would be 27, 22 obviously for those. They did install, I did give them March, are those 27? That should have been 20. Should have been 20. Quick fix there, okay. So we got these miners here being installed, 2,830 and 1,779. Those are the 90 terahash miners being installed potentially. And we did get them to the 4.3 exahash and the 42,919 miners being installed. So we're right there with the reporting. Based on that information, before we get too far, institutional updates. I forgot to check the institution, so I'll do that in the next video for you guys. I didn't do that one for Riot, but I will get that updated either for the next video or when we do the miner versus miner videos. Looking at the numbers here then. So last 3 quarters was 121 million. This quarter we're looking at about 70 million. So combined total of about 191 million total. So we're using the 75% net income from gross revenue with a price to earnings multiple of 20. That will give us a stock price of 24.44. They are at 19.23. They were a little bit higher yesterday and on Friday. So they're pretty close to being fairly valued right now. And we're using obviously price to earnings multiple of 20. If we bring it down to where they are right now, we're looking at approximately a 16 PE on them, which I believe is going to be a little bit higher coming up here once everything gets installed. So we're using the 20, which I think is pretty close. They're still a little bit undervalued on that. BTC HODL is obviously 6,062, so 12.3% of the market cap is BTC HODL. So each share has about $2.37 of Bitcoin HODL in it. Current hash rate 4.3, expected is 12.6 roughly. Operational wise, they're about 34% operational right now. They still have obviously 65% more to go before they get to their peak here. Average hash per miner is about 100 terahash, which is great. And then looking at the numbers here, as we always do for the year, if Bitcoin stayed the same, everything stayed the same, hash rate stayed the same. We're using the 20 price to earnings multiple with 75% net income from gross revenue would give us a stock price of about 41.40 $40.41 roughly if everything stayed the same for what they're going to be making, about 316 million for the year if everything stayed. But obviously they're getting more miners installed. That's probably going to go up over time and should reflect it also, minus any share dilution, and that goes for all the miners here. So great growth by them. We're looking at how much have they grown? They've grown almost 1 exahash here in the last 2 months, which is really good. Installed approximately 10,000 miners or so in the last 2 months as well, which is really good growth as well. It's a lot of miners to get installed, so congrats to them on getting that done. And looking forward to their information on their immersion cooling, see what gains they get from that. All right, so that is it. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, the spreadsheet is available to my Patreon members. You guys can find it there. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. And have a great evening. I'll see you guys in the next one.